morning, wherever you are. I have a question. How healthy are your boundaries? Are they serving you? Do you even have any boundaries? And if they are they effective? Or are they sabotaging you somehow? Or are you a people pleaser, like I used to be? A long time ago, I used to be a people pleaser. It's International Women's Day. Yes. We stand up for ourselves. It's been recognized 111 times now. And today I'm going to share with you 5 ways that I overcome my people-pleasing habit and changed my life in the process. But before I do that, I want to share with you this book that I found once. I think it was probably a long time ago. It's called Mrs. Beeton's Everyday Cookbook. It was first published in 1915. She was, I don't know why it was even allowed to be printed, but I don't know if you've ever read it, but in it's got how a woman should run a household, how they do the marketing, how you wrap your meat, how you do all of this stuff. And also, here's the bit, how you're supposed to look after your husband when he comes home from work. You're not allowed to bother him and ask him questions with your frivolous questions that you've been thinking about all day. He's had very important matters to do. You've just got to get his chair ready, get his slippers beside the chair and his pipe by the chair, and make him a cup of tea and just be quiet and only speak when you're spoken to. Really? I mean, what? Where does that, how does that even work? I mean, seriously? Good job I wasn't born then, because I think I might have been one of the suffragettes with Anthony Pankhurst outside 9 Downing Street. I got championed that. So we've moved on to different times, and I'm going to start sharing you with my 5 tips and ways that I discovered how to reset my life and reclaim my power. So here we go. Tip 1. Stop saying yes to everyone. And I think the biggest problem that people have with saying yes to everyone is fear of rejection. I know that I never wanted to say no because they wouldn't like me, or I'd be left out, or I wouldn't be included with anything, and I'd be all on my own and be lonely. And that need for approval is huge. We actually really do need that. And actually, I just realized I didn't even tell you who I was. So before I tell you what I did about that, I'm Pamela Milliken. I'm a mindset mastery and empowerment coach. And this is one of my very first lives, and I'm learning as I go. So again, that's it. I could need for approval, want to get this, try and be perfect, but I'm not. I'm having to go anyway and just sharing my message. And hopefully that's more important than how perfect I am at doing this. So back to this need for approval. Stop saying yes when you really mean no. Okay, stop being afraid of what people will think. And my daughter actually gave me a huge thing, because I would say yes to everybody all the time, and then I would have to go home and say to myself, like, okay, how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to change my mind? And how am I going to let these people know that I really don't want to, without losing their friendship? And sorry, I just got distracted. My team just sent me up something. They think I can see what's over there. I can't. But if there's anyone out there listening to me, thank you for joining me. I think that's what it says. Thank you, team. Where was I now? Okay, so I would have to go home then, and I would go thinking, okay, I'm going to tell them I'm sick. I'm going to ring them up and say I'm feeling really sick and I can't do it and I'm really sorry. I would get myself into such a mess trying to get out of something that if I just had the courage in the first place and didn't worry about their need for approval or what they would think of me or being rejected, it would have been, I would be in a much better place. Instead, I've made myself sick, actually thinking, how am I going to get out of it? And my daughter gave me a good idea. She said, why don't you just say, hey, I'd love to help you or be a part of that, whatever it is you're being asked about. And say, but let me just check what family commitments I have and what my work schedule is all about. And if I can help you or be with you, I will. I'll get back to you. And by doing that, you've taken yourself away from that person and that situation and given yourself some time to think. And think about, does it really fit in with you? Does it fit in with your plans with your family and what you want to do for the weekend? And is this something you really want to do anyway, right? If it doesn't light you up, then don't do it. And I have this thing that I always say to myself, when I'm saying yes to someone else, I need to make sure I'm not saying no to myself. So my question for you then is, what would change in your life, or how would your life change if you just suddenly decided to stop people pleasing? It's a good question, isn't it? So the next tip I have for you is to embrace your femininity. I've started wearing a lot more dresses. I never used to. I used to work in a man's world and wear pantsuits and stuff like. I think I had to be tough and strong and be rigid and rules, because male energy is all about the rules and the order and the predictability of everything, whereas feminine is more creative and intuitive and we're not bound by rules. And obviously, this isn't everybody and all the women and all the males, but generally, that's women are more creative. And I actually think women, like I laid a concrete slab once, and I swear I would have done it better than most males, because I was really particular about getting it all nice and smooth and everything. So I think we need to embrace our femininity. And if you're working in a man's world, it doesn't mean to say you've got to be like a man. You've got to believe in yourself and maybe be a little bit thick-skinned. When I first started working, I think it was about 18, in a factory, and I wanted to wear nice clothes. I've never been a risque dresser anyway. I've always been quite conservative. But even so, just wearing a skirt and walking across the factory floor, you couldn't get from one end to the other without being hollered at or whistled at or comments going on. And it's like it's just really annoying and frustrating, and it makes you want to be wear male clothes and act like a man, because you don't want that kind of attention, or you don't want that hassle, because you want to be able to embrace your femininity and get what you want and where you want in life by not having to go and be all people pleasy and flirting just to get your own way, because that kind of diminishes who you are anyway. I love wearing dresses, now, and like I just wore one today, and I wear one to all my meetings so that people, and I rely on who I am and what I know, and I create great relationships. I know my value and I own it. And I rely on my knowledge to be able to, and my experience to be able to get my point across. And I'm very firm, and I've got quite a bit thick-skinned. I think you need to get thick-skinned when men throw comments at you. And I'm English, so I've got a few of my own that I can throw back. When I was working at that factory, there was a girl there. Let's call her Sally. She was a very butch male. And, she just wanted to be one of the men. And like all the men, she would shout things at me and ask me in front of a whole bunch of men, why do you walk around in heels that you can't balance on? And I don't know where this comment came from. I said, probably the same reason you walk around with a face like a slapped ass. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but that's what I said. I don't even know where that came from, but it was like, it was just out before I could think about it. And if you're just tuning in now, I'm Pamela, a Mindset Mastery Coach and Empowerment Strategist. And I'm grateful that you're joining me. Thank you I think someone just joined from India. I did see India come up there, so thank you for sharing and coming and joining. So yeah, this girl, she needed to back down and stop being so butch and just try and get through on her knowledge and her experience and create great relationships without the need for flirting with those. So my question for you before we go to the next tip then is, do you know your own value? Yeah. All right. So my third one is, when you get all that hassle from men when you're walking across the factory floor or you're going into an office. And I read something just yesterday, actually, and I won't repeat what it said, but a woman was in a technical meeting. She was the only one, the only female in this board of directors and meeting, and she was not so much criticizing, but she was questioning the males of the solution that they'd come up for this technical problem. And two of the men turned to each other and said, she just needs a good, and we won't tell her, so I say what that is. It's like, what is that? Males' egos are so fragile. Right? They think that they're important and they're so valuable, and that women just don't know what they're talking about. And that's a bit, when I go in companies and do training, that's a lot to do with the fixed mindset as opposed to the growth mindset. A growth mindset, everyone works together as a team. Everyone knows that everybody's got something valuable to share, from the janitor to the lady that makes teas to the CEO. They're all working together as a team. Whereas the fixed mindset has to protect their fragile ego. And they're right. They don't care what you think. They don't care about anything you have to say. They don't want to know, because they just want you to do what they want you to do and what they say and how they say it. And that's very limited their growth. There's a lot of CEOs that have actually destroyed their companies because they've had that fixed mindset. And I'll give you a good example. John McEnroe, the tennis player, okay? He was a phenomenal tennis player. except we never really knew how phenomenal he could actually be, and neither did he, because when anything ever went wrong, he would blame the ball boy, or someone coughed in the crowd, or it was the tennis net was like, there was a wrinkle in it or something. There was always someone else's problem. And that's the difference. When you have a fixed mindset, you can't allow anything to question who you are or what you say. You have to like blame someone, because that protects your like fragile little ego, like I've said before. So I want you to ask yourself what your mindset is. Do you know what your current mindset is? Do you know whether you're coming from a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? Because it really isn't about you. When they start shouting things at you, it's not about you. They're projecting their own fragile ego. So understand what your current mindset is. And if you need to change that to be more of a growth mindset, I suggest you have look at that, find out about it, and see how that can help you grow even more. Perfect. All right, so my fourth tip is to stop apologizing for everything. How many times have you apologized for something that's not even your fault? You didn't even do anything wrong, but you find yourself saying, sorry, 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 anyway. And for me, I think when we say sorry all the time, it weakens that whole sentiment. So that when you really are sorry, it's a bit like the boy that cried wolf, right? Nobody cares. Nobody believes you. It's just like, she says that all the time. She doesn't really mean it. And it makes people doubt you. If you start, and I know a lot of people, and there's one person that comes to mind that I worked with, she started every sentiment with, every sentence with, I'm sorry. And when you say, I'm sorry, and then you present your stuff, you're already setting yourself up for failure, because you're telling them, I'm not really sure if this is good enough, or if it's any good, or if it's what you want, or whatever. And you make people doubt you. So I want to ask you, how often have you used the word, I'm sorry, even, when someone bumps into you and you say, oh, sorry, sorry. I mean, like, really? We do that all the time, don't we? So I think one thing you have to do is stop apologizing for everything. And I wanted to ask you, how often and when do you use the word sorry? And my last one is stop trying to prove yourself. Now, I know that I used to do this all the time. I've got more qualifications than hairs on my head for that exact reason. I did a law degree, not to be a lawyer, but just to prove I could, just to prove myself. And I have a friend right now who works twice as many hours. She currently works, I'm going to call her Lily. She works about 74 hours a week when her male counterpart does the regular 38 hours. And it's like, what is that? And I asked her, Lily, why are you working so hard? And she said, well, it won't get done. It won't get finished. And I said, well, that's not your problem. And, so another message just flashed up there. And I'm like, what? I got to tell her that secret squirrel, that pretty butterfly. And so, where was I? I forgot. We got that. Sorry. So she works out twice as many hours as everybody else, and works twice as hard, does twice as many things. And even though she does twice as many hours, she crowds in twice as much work in those twice as many hours. And it's just ridiculous. And she's burning herself out. And I just said to her, that's a really stupid thing to do, and a place to put yourself in, because you won't be recognized anymore. And when you leave, when you get burnt out, and your life has been, you've actually live to work rather than work to live, which is what she's doing right now, they'll just move on to the next person. And I saw a saying a little while ago which says, you get what you tolerate. So if you keep doing all of this work and proving yourself, working harder, working longer, giving more, they're just going to pile it onto you, because now you're telling them in a subconscious way that you need to do that to prove yourself. And how many men around you are doing that? How many men around you are working the hours that you're working? All right. So tell us below. Tell us below how you're trying to prove yourself. What is it? Ladies, what are you going to change? I want to know what you're going to change in your mindset today. And of all these 5 ways that I've shared with you, I've got a ton more, but these are the 5 ways that I used to start changing my mindset, to start reclaiming my power and being okay with myself, approving of myself, not needing that external validation, not needing approval, and to embracing my femininity. I stopped wearing pantsuits. I started wearing skirt suits, and then dresses. And I am confident enough in myself now, and I own my confidence. So how are you going to reclaim your power? How are you going to use some of these tips that I've given you so that you can be who you want to be. Stop trying to be something you're not. Stop trying to be a man, be a woman, and own yourself. Believe in yourself and own your power. And I hope these tips have helped you. Read all the comments. My team are giving me instructions, and I don't even know where the comments are. Happy Women's Day, Pamela Milligan. Oh, thank you, Odin Otani. Thank you. I wasn't even looking at the screen. You're looking great. Well, thank you very much. I did it all myself. Jamal Singh, looking great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Love and embrace that femininity. Yes, I love wearing dresses, and I've only just started borrowing some. Great points. I'm glad I tuned in, watching from India. Thank you, Santosh, for joining me. Listening from Barnstable, Peter Ford. Oh my God, that's someone I grew up with. Wow. August, thank you. You're great about growth mindset, tuning in from Melbourne. Thank you for joining us too. Oh my God, says Parker. So cool. What a great surprise. Congratulations on launching your show. Not perfect, Parker, but great. I will learn to say no more often. 100%. When you're saying yes to someone else, make sure you're not saying no to yourself. And that's the comments that we have so far. And I am going to leave you, as I would like to start leaving everyone, to live your life large and live it with passion. Thanks for tuning in.